Breaking news. Tariff torpedoes. The global trade seas are stormier than ever, and the latest developments are nothing short of explosive. Hold on to your hats, folks, because the US-China trade war just went nuclear. What started as a simmering dispute has now erupted into a full-blown economic showdown. We're talking tariff torpedoes flying across the Pacific. Both nations are locked in a high-stakes game of economic brinkmanship, and the stakes couldn't be higher. The US just slapped a whopping 145% tariff on some Chinese goods. This is one of the steepest tariff hikes in recent history, targeting a wide range of products. Yes, you heard that right, 145%. Businesses are scrambling to understand the implications, and consumers are bracing for price hikes. You know things are getting serious when even math needs a stiff drink. Economists are crunching numbers like never before, trying to predict the fallout of these tariffs. China, not one to back down from a trade tussle, retaliated with its own tariffs, a hefty 125% on US imports. From soybeans to cars, American goods are now facing steep barriers in Chinese markets. It's like they're playing tariff tennis, but instead of a ball, they're lobbing hand grenades at each other's economies. The back and forth is relentless, and the collateral damage is mounting. This latest escalation has sent shockwaves through global markets, leaving economists scrambling for their calculators. Stock markets are reeling, and the ripple effects are being felt far and wide. Investors are reaching for the antacids as uncertainty looms large. The volatility is palpable, and no one knows where this trade war will lead. Buckle up, buttercups, because this trade war is about to get bumpy. The global economy is in for a wild ride, and the endgame is anyone's guess. What do economists know? The impact of this trade war is being felt far and wide, like the economic aftershocks of a particularly nasty burrito. Stock markets are yo-yoing like a yo-yo convention in an earthquake. The US dollar is taking a beating, gold is having a field day, and consumer confidence is about as high as a giraffe in a basement. Inflation fears are running rampant, and some experts are even whispering the dreaded R-word recession. But wait, there's more. US businesses are feeling the pinch, especially those that rely on Chinese imports. And let's not forget about the American consumer, who's caught in the crossfire and facing higher prices on everything from iPhones to inflatable pool toys. China isn't just sitting back and taking these tariffs lying down. Oh no, they're retaliating with tariffs of their own, targeting key US exports like soybeans and pork. It's like they're trying to hit America where it hurts, in the stomach. But China's countermeasures go beyond just tariffs. They're also making it harder for US companies to do business in China, and they've even issued travel warnings for Chinese citizens visiting the US. It's like they're saying, you want a trade war? We'll give you a trade war, and we'll throw in some travel restrictions for good measure. China's message is clear. They're not backing down, and they're willing to weather the storm, even if it means some short-term pain. Section 5. The EU, caught in the crossfire. The European Union finds itself in a precarious position, navigating the turbulent waters of global trade conflicts. As the world's second-largest economy bloc, the EU is no stranger to the complexities of international trade, but this time, the stakes are higher than ever. Meanwhile, across the pond, the European Union is watching this trade war unfold with, well, a mixture of amusement and trepidation. On one hand, they see the drama playing out between two of the world's largest economies, but on the other, they know the ripple effects could hit them hard. It's almost like they're watching a tennis match where the players are using hand grenades instead of tennis balls, and honestly, they're worried about getting hit by shrapnel. The EU knows that in this high-stakes game there are no sidelines to stand on. Everyone is a player, whether they like it or not. The EU is caught in a really tricky position. They're at a crossroads, trying to balance their economic interests while maintaining diplomatic relationships. It's a delicate dance, and one misstep could have far-reaching consequences. On the one hand, they share some of the United States' concerns about China's trade practices. Issues like intellectual property theft and market access resonate with European leaders, who have faced similar challenges in their dealings with China. But on the other hand, they rely heavily on trade with both countries and, they really don't want to get dragged into a full-blown trade war. The EU's economy is deeply intertwined with both the US and China, making neutrality a necessity rather than a choice. So far, the EU has been trying to stay neutral, walking a fine line between supporting its allies and protecting its own interests. This balancing act requires constant negotiation and strategic decision-making. But as the trade war escalates, that's becoming increasingly difficult. The pressure is mounting from all sides and the EU is finding it harder to avoid taking a definitive stance. Protests, market instability, and diplomatic tensions are all adding to the strain. It's kind of like trying to stay dry in a hurricane. Eventually, you're just going to get soaked. The EU knows that sooner or later, they'll have to make tough choices, and the world is watching to see what they'll do next. Section 6. The world is watching. Global reactions. The US-China trade war has become a defining moment in modern geopolitics, and the world is watching closely. This isn't just about two superpowers clashing, it's about the ripple effects that touch every corner of the globe. The US-China trade war isn't just a bilateral spat. It's a global drama with a cast of characters that includes everyone from Canadian auto workers to Vietnamese factory owners. Factories in Southeast Asia are ramping up production to fill the gaps left by disrupted supply chains, while workers in North America brace for the impact of shifting trade policies. And well, they're all watching with bated breath to see how this trade war plays out. Newsrooms across the globe are buzzing with updates and people everywhere are glued to their screens trying to make sense of the chaos. Some countries like Canada and Mexico have retaliated with tariffs of their own, aiming to protect their industries and send a message. Protests have erupted in some regions, as citizens voice their concerns over rising costs and economic uncertainty. Meanwhile, other nations are treading carefully, trying to stay neutral or even capitalize on the situation. For some, this is an opportunity to strengthen their own trade relationships and gain a competitive edge in the global market. It's like a global game of musical chairs, and everyone's scrambling for a seat before the music stops. Leaders are meeting behind closed doors, strategizing their next moves, while businesses and governments alike try to anticipate the next twist in this high-stakes game. The trade war is also disrupting global supply chains, causing delays and uncertainty. Factories are halting production, and shipping companies are struggling to keep up with the shifting demands. Companies are scrambling to find alternative suppliers and markets, holding emergency meetings to rework their strategies. The search for stability has become a top priority, but it's easier said than done. It's like trying to reroute a supertanker in a bathtub. It's not pretty, and it's bound to cause some major disruptions. The world is holding its breath, waiting to see how this economic storm will reshape the global landscape. Section 7. The human cost of a trade war. Behind all the economic jargon and market analysis, it's important to remember that this trade war has real consequences for real people. Farmers are losing their livelihoods, businesses are shutting down, and consumers are facing higher prices. In the US, farmers are struggling to cope with the loss of the Chinese market for their soybeans and other agricultural products. Some are facing bankruptcy, while others are being forced to sell their farms that have been in their families for generations. In China, factory workers are being laid off as export orders dry up. Many are struggling to make ends meet, and some are being forced to return to their villages in search of work. The trade war is a stark reminder that economic conflicts have human costs. Section 8. Can this trade war be won? The million-dollar question is, can this trade war be won? And if so, by whom? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind, along with the hopes and dreams of anyone who thought this would be over quickly. Some argue that Trump's tariffs will eventually force China to cave to US demands. Others believe that China is willing to endure short-term pain for long-term gain, and that the US will eventually blink first. The truth is, nobody knows how this trade war will end. It could drag on for years with both sides suffering significant economic damage. Or it could end tomorrow with a handshake and a cheesy photo op. Only time will tell. Section 9. Fasten your seatbelts. The road ahead. One thing's for sure. This trade war is far from over. We're in for a bumpy ride, folks. So buckle up, hold on tight, and maybe stock up on antacids and ramen noodles. The outcome of this trade war will have far-reaching implications for the global economy, the balance of power between the US and China, and the future of international trade. So stay tuned, because this is one reality show you won't want to miss.